Get ready to ignite your passion for motorcycles as we kickstart another thrilling episode of Wrenchers, Racers, and Riders. Brought to you by Rainier Avenue Radio World. We are your ticket to the dynamic world of motorcycle racing, riding, tech talk right here in the Emerald City. Whether you're a grease-covered guru, a speed-hungry junkie, or a wordsmith weaving tales of two-wheeled adventures, this is your tribe. From grip and racetrack stories to the art of bike customization, we are your one-stop shop for all things motorcycle. So rev those engines. Let the journey begin right here on WRW.
Les is an amazing individual, but also he works for an amazing brand, Cycle Gear. I shop nowhere else, and this is a shameless plug. I am sponsored in no way, shape, or form by them, but when I am treated well by good people and when I find value out of the experience, well, I just like to bring that to the people. So this isn't me bringing a product, a new helmet, a new set of leathers or gloves or a part for a motorcycle, but it's actually bringing the person who has brought a lot of that to me. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, I thought we were just hanging out in the shop. You were making the hours fly when you come in. So I appreciate you coming to hang out.
See, he's telling on me already. I mean, my future wife, if she watches this back, she's going to be like, so that's where he spends the time and the money. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, hours in the shop. And excuse me for the technical difficulties, y'all, but we are humans. And, things don't like to stay on me all the time. Good thing I have a shirt on. So, no, Les has been an amazing help. So I've given him this big pump up coming into the show. He knows all this stuff. So, of course, we're going to jump straight into this week's Tech Talk. Now, last week we spoke about taking care of the human body, right? Protecting the skull. Okay. We can get prosthetics. We can get a replacement arm. Mm-hmm. We can get a replacement leg. Not the lightest of things to talk about, but you can't get a replacement brain.
No, that's pretty important.
It's very important. So It's really important to be able to protect that which cannot be replaced. Mm-hmm. And I think we may medically, scientifically be approaching brain transplant successfully in mass, but I'm sure they're going to be quite pricey. Yeah. It's less expensive. Brand new helmet.
Yeah,
a brand
100%.
new helmet.
Whenever someone comes into the shop, I always tell them, when they're looking at like whether it's a $400 helmet or a $900 helmet, I break it down. A helmet expires every 4 to 5 years.
True.
So I say, how much is your insurance a month? And how much is a medical payment?
Yes.
And then once you break it down 5 years and you divide that up, a $500 helmet, $100 a year, it's a pretty good deal on medical coverage. You know what I mean? So
I didn't preface that he was a mathematician, and I still don't know if that's a part of his trade, but that was an equation that I think we can all follow. I think we can all follow that one. I appreciate you putting some meat on that bone. So we talked about the body. Let's talk about the bike. Mm-hmm. A lot of us care about the bike. A lot of us spend more money on our bike than on our body in terms of gear. I've seen some high-priced bikes going down the freeway in T-shirts. So, when it comes to motorcycling, when it comes to any form of motorsports, but especially motorcycling, it is a very apparent reality that this machine can go down, right? That's why we spoke initially about protecting ourselves.
Yep.
Right? It's better to be able to get up with a working body and be able to go get another bike with your employment ability still intact, rather than having a bike that works in a body and a brain that doesn't. So let's talk about protecting that bike. I think one of the easiest ways to protect a bike, and I brought Les here to put a lot more details around this. So of course, I'm going to take a step back here. But my first thought is frame sliders. Mm-hmm. My first thought is frame sliders. If I 100%. Want to protect my bike, the most important parts of the bike are going to be the engine. And yes, the fairing is aesthetically pleasing, but plastics are not that expensive to replace. I have a race bike now. I understand what that looks like, what that feels like financially. But if the engine takes a solid onto the ground, that could rattle the internal portions, right?
Or even punch a hole through the case.
Oh, goodness me. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I highly recommend for new riders, frame sliders. Like you were saying, it's just going to protect the investment.
Yep.
Now, it's different from different riding styles, right? Okay. So in the sport industry, frame sliders are your go-to, or even better, if you're going to be really stunting and pushing the limits of your machine, it's good to have like a full cage around it. Yeah, exactly. This guy. So it's good to have a cage. If you're in the dual sport world or on an adventure bike or something like that, usually some pro taper handlebars. Okay. They have they're called pro taper because they're thick in the middle and then they taper down towards the ends. And that, just like a cone, adds a lot of strength and structure to the handlebars. Okay. So if you do an improved handlebar on a 300-pound off-road machine, those handlebars are going to take the impact and they'll keep the machine off the ground, and that'll protect you most of the time. So you usually don't need some frame sliders there, just some heavy-duty handlebars and some brush guards, which are like a metal frame with some plastic. Yeah, and it keeps... It's mainly to protect your knuckles, but that really also helps protecting your levers and your hand grips and all that stuff from getting torn up when it goes down into the dirt. As far as sport bikes go, frame sliders are pretty much a must for new riders. Absolutely. If you're really going to be pushing the limits or tracking, maybe getting a cage is a good thing. Okay. Something to be weary of is how those products attach to the bike.
Very true.
I had a Harley 883, my first bike, and I loved it to death. I ran it off through a barbed wire fence and into a grass field.
Story we must learn more about.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so in that case, the engine guard was attached to a small tab, and that bent the frame. So technically, the frame was totaled out, and I had insurance, and I took it into the shop. But then that meant everything needed to be taken off the bike and put back on, and all the maintenance hours and then the parts and the replacement, it was totaled out, an $8,000 machine. So how it attaches to your bike and how structurally sound that is, it's important that the frame slider or whatever isn't going to damage your bike when it takes the impact.
This is huge. And I don't know why I didn't text you about this earlier, but when my bike went down at the track, the frame slider is bent now. And what I am not aware of is it the actual dowel that is connecting into it that's bent? Because it doesn't appear that there's been any damage into where it's inserted, but it's definitely sticking out at a different angle than the other side. I've ran the bike multiple cycles, just as you would with any motorcycle, to make sure that everything is firing right. So there is no hiccup, no hitch, no knock when and it wasn't a massive crash, but I was thinking that wherever that bending went, it looked almost like the clip-on to the left side, which was bent, and I just replaced that. So simple take out and replace in, but because I can't see under the fairing yet, I haven't received my tools, then I'm just curious as to how that's damaged. But you've answered the question pretty much of how does this portion of protection slide into the bike? How does it attach to the bike, right? Does it, is on my BMW, the T-Rex frame sliders are attached with what seems to be a bracket, an external bracket that of course is going to attach to the frame. But on the ZX6, it is a frame slider that appears to go directly in. It's a dowel screw directly into the frame. So there's nothing to dissipate that force when that comes, right?
So the one you were talking about, it's nice that the bracket will take that impact, and then you can replace the bracket. The best frame sliders I've seen have a dowel that go clear through the bike, and sometimes you'll remove like an engine bolt that holds the engine into the frame, and then it'll go clean through there, and that'll be a frame slider. Those are pretty sturdy and sound, just because they're connected on both sides.
That sounds like,
but not all bikes can afford that. Not all bikes have space for a clear through.
That's very true. That's very true. And I'm glad that you see, it's not just our pocketbooks that feel the pain, but some bikes are like, there's no purchase for that here. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. Another point of protection on a bike, and I just realized this, I thought it was a shiny, pristine colored doohickey that was on a bike until I owned a race bike. And these are spool sliders. I still don't understand how important they are. But I know it makes it easier for me to get my track stands on.
Yeah.
I know they match, but what are they specifically protecting around the wheel?
Sure. Yeah. So one huge benefit is that they make removing and putting the wheels on and off, like you were saying, with the lift.
That makes sense.
Having a lift that hooks into those spools, the notches they have, it's so nice. It's like no guesswork. Without those spools there, you kind of have to just put the lift under the swing arm. Yeah, and it can get a little iffy, and you don't want to drop your bike. So that's a really good benefit, almost worth it in its own right. The other benefit is that, whenever a bike goes down, there's usually 3 points of contact. That dual sport I was talking about earlier, you got the front wheel, back wheel, and the handlebar. And then everything else is tucked in nicely to where it's not going to hit unless you have some crazy terrain.
So what he's speaking about there is the front wheel, the back wheel, and the handlebar. This is now your protective atmosphere of the bike, of the expensive bits. Yeah,
your 3 outermost points of contact.
There
right?
we go. Yeah.
The spool sliders are doing that. So instead of marring up the edge of your wheel or even your loss of words, the rear swing arm. Instead of marring up the rear swing arm, it's just offsetting that point of contact a couple inches to where when the bike comes down, now it's not your wheel and swing arm that's that point of contact. That spool is going to get ate up. It's a one-use thing. It's maybe $50 to $100 a set, depending on what you get. Maybe 2 uses out of it, depending on how far the bike slides. And it just keeps your swing arm and other parts looking nice and shiny.
Absolutely.
Protects that investment.
I mean, it's a hefty reason why we ride, right? I don't know anybody, even my friends that ride dirt, even some of my colleagues that do arena cross, right? It's still something to show up at the beginning of the event or the day looking good, right? So we spend money. We would like to keep that money looking like new money, even though it gets dirty, even though we get greasy.
And not to mention, you never run out of a list of things that you want for the bike, it never ends. So rather than spending that money on maintenance and repairs, we want to get a new helmet, new gloves, new GoPro, new Insta360, whatnot.
Absolutely.
So, 100%.
Insta360, is that the tail camera stick?
Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah. Ryan Fortnine, he's a very good YouTuber. He does all of his footage with an Insta360, and his stuff looks premium.
No, I do. I enjoy his channel a lot. I can't lie. I do.
It's nice in the fact with the 360 camera, you can, in a lot of senses, you can cut the video later. You don't have to get that perfect angle. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate that.
Big ups to the B-roll.
Right.
Yeah. And here's one last one for y'all. And I picked this up. Deep into a conversation about, again, bike protection. And my first thought of a piece of equipment was for performance. How can I put myself into a more aggressive attack riding position, right? And now we're speaking about rear sets. But when we think of the stock peg on your motorcycle, and this is the front pegs, right? We're speaking about being the pilot on the machine. Those pegs fold, which means your peg will be saved, but they will add no support or protection to what is above that portion on the bike, which meaning the expensive shiny bits, right? As it comes over. So we see the peg, it's sticking out. If that is folding, it's going to fold. Now our tank is going to most likely hit the ground. If it's sticking out, that can be the pivot point, and then that pivots to our frame slider. So it's important to have both. I'm speaking about aftermarket rear sets here. These are the peg, pedal, or lever combination that you get on both sides here. And you'll, without jumping into a bunch of different brands, type in rear sets, you'll see what I'm speaking about. The peg usually is built in a way that has a texturized grip that is, again, it is usually made of an aluminum, a very strong material, and that material is now mated one with the actual, I don't know what that piece is called. It's the heel protector or the heel grip that looks
mount.
like a little wing. Yeah, it's connected to that. So instead of it folding upon contact, it's going to stay stiff. So I feel like that is an overlooked portion. Perhaps you haven't thought about getting rear sets because you think, well, I don't have any issues. I've jumped onto my bike. It's stopped. My knees feel great. I'm able to ride for hundreds of miles. I can get my knee down. My toes are scraping. I'm feeling good with the peeps. Why would I need rear sets? And if you're riding like that, I'm not downing you because I ride like that. And I encourage you, if you have the skill, to go out and enjoy your bike like that, enjoy your life like that. But let's also protect ourselves and our bike when we are enjoying it like that, so that we can do so with longevity. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if someone is looking for rear sets, without dumping brands on them, unless there is one that you feel go to, none but the best, please do offer that to the peeps.
Yeah, not so much like a specific brand, but just maybe like a couple counterpoints.
Okay.
If you're really pushing the limit of the bike, those rear sets are meant to bend up, so that doesn't become a stiff point. So when you lean the bike over and it hits a stiff peg that doesn't fold up, all of a sudden the bike starts sliding on that peg, and your rear wheel comes up. Mm-hmm. You lose all traction on the rear, and now you're just sliding on a peg. There it goes. That's right. So if you're really getting down, putting a knee down and something like that, probably not a good idea to run stiff pegs. If you're just casual everyday riding, it's probably a good idea that, that would protect the bike. Just be weary how it again attaches to the bike. Is it going straight into the frame in a way that it's going to break the frame or bend the frame, or is it on a bracket that can be replaced? And then also, if now it's touching the peg and the frame slider, all bikes are different. What is that third point of contact? Is it the front wheel, the back wheel? Is it the tail section, your tank, the handlebars? So it's different from use to use. But I would say that, it's good for casual riding, but if you're really pushing things, it can be quite dangerous where it lifts up the rear wheel.
See, that is a good point in thinking about the clearance aspect of it. If someone was to raise it above the clearance level, would that then dispel that?
Like lifting the bike as a whole?
So
like the suspension?
No, the actual rear set, if they were to set it into a higher adjusted bracket.
Yeah, but isn't that what a frame slider is? Because that's like getting up in that range, right? So
I'm visually looking
I'm trying to think
at
about
the bike, and you are right in terms of there's going to be probably throw an estimate out here, maybe a 10-inch difference if you're raising them to the top of the rear set bracket, and then you have the frame slider as well. And of course, all bikes are different, but you've raised just probably the most important point is, what's that third point of contact going to be?
I feel like your best bet is frame sliders and spools. Frame sliders and spools is the go-to. You can't really go wrong. There's no question work with that, because those are 3 solid points of contact that can be replaced. And in a real bad situation, they'll just rip off without messing up your frame, hopefully. That's the goal. And yeah, so I think that's the go-to as far as street bikes go.
Solid.
Yeah.
And just for, fun laughs, giggles, and sprinkles, how important are lever bar guards?
Lever bar guards. So for what kind of riding?
I guess I would ask, when are they important?
So like MX riding, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to fact check this. I don't know. But it was a thing where people would reach over and like hit your brake in the middle of the race. Yeah. So that's like the light duty plastic ones.
Yeah.
Those can be used for like light brush, briars and stuff like that. But really they're kind of developed out of the MX world, where people would cheat in a way, or the enduro world, and they'd reach over and grab your front brake. You're not expecting it. And the chassis goes whack and you come off the bike.
Yeah.
So that's guarding against other people grabbing.
Okay.
And yeah, so like I think the ones that kind of point forward and they're just like 2 kind of points, I think that's what those are there for, is more like, and then I guess it's how, if you want to protect your levers, right? A lot of times when bikes go down, especially in the dirt, the handlebar will sink into the dirt, and then the whole lever will just peel back.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's good for that. As far as like street riding goes, again, it's those 3 points of contact.
Mm-hmm.
Even with spools and a frame slider, it's good to have bar ends. Those reduce vibration, just having mass on the end of the bar. But also, if the bike does teeter up onto its nose or up near the tank, that handlebar, instead of having to replace your handlebar and grind off the whole handlebar, it's good to have a little bar end. Okay. But as far as street riding goes, I don't see a need for like full guards unless it's like brush or one of the other reasons I mentioned.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. I think that covers the bike. And
Yeah.
hopefully you get your bike covered out there if you haven't already. And a big point that I would like to learn from you is, what was your first point of investment on your bike? How did you say, I'm going to keep this thing clean and pristine? Was it chain care? Was it a new guard? Was it one of the points of protection that we spoke about today? This is how we grow the community. This is how we learn more, because we mentioned 4 things, and those 4 things may be interchangeable depending on your riding style, and they may not be. But if we hear 5 new things from you, well, we've got 9 in the pot for everyone to choose from. So let's learn, let's grow, let's keep it moving forward like that. All right.
I love it.
Thank you. Now, of course, let's get our rider of the week in the mix. And, we'll stay in the cycle gear vibes sort of neighborhood. And I'm going to throw Cam in the mix here. I have chucked
Great guy.
So many questions at this brother. He really is a great guy.
Yeah.
Big ups to him. Congratulations. Happy belated anniversary. Figure I'd put it out there because you're just worth it that much. But I've thrown so many questions at this man, and never has he returned without an answer and a smile, or told me I don't have that answer. But it is interesting. I'm going to dig for it. And that, to me, is what this motorcycle community is about. And of course, this isn't all about me. We hear about a lot of riders coming to the rescue for other riders. My side stand on my KTM snapped right after I got it out the shop. Jeff was coming by on his Ducati fresh off of work. We know how that can be. I am just in a single track mind trying to get home.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we see 2 wheels not moving in the way that they should be. Why is a motorcycle on the sidewalk walking? What's up? Stopped right on the point. Cam has been the same way, whether I'm in the shop needing gear for self or gear for bike, or if I'm asking, why do people leg dangle so hard? Does it influence the lean? Or how will this influence my tire wear? How can I get a tire that's going to last so many heat cycles? This, that, and the other. And not one time has he said, hey, whoa, I'm not in the shop. Why are you asking me? He's always returned with something that provided value to my life and value to my journey. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what
Fantastic guy. I really enjoyed working with him. Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. He's over at Linwood now. Linwood Cycle Gear. He moved.
Auburn.
I didn't know. Auburn. You're right.
Yeah, so closer to me.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
So you've seen him a few times since he
Yes,
moved. Okay.
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great guy. If you guys stop by Auburn, if you're looking to get into track, and you have some questions, or you're weary about track etiquette or anything like that, he's a great guy to talk to. He's been going to tracks around here for a long time. Fantastic
100%,
dude.
100%. Yeah. So big up to you, rider of the week. It's something small, but again, it's something mega from the community. You deserve it, Cam. Stay looking out for the people. And of course, we'll make sure that people know about it. Much value, much value, much value. Now, got a cool show today. And I think it's cool because anything that I don't have a lot of knowledge on, but still involves aspects of my life that I'm giddy about, it's cool to me. And today we're going to be speaking about something that I've never thought about. Actually, I thought about it once when you asked me, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
I said, well, it blends a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think it'll work, but I never gotten any thoughts going any deeper than that. But we're talking about adventure lifestyle today. Adventure riding, the thrill of leaving the beaten path and going to blaze your own, or getting a little dirty on one that's already been beaten. We're talking about the bikes that look like they should be off-road, but they're on-road on your commute. Who is this person that looks like he belongs in the Dakar right next to me with these 3 steel boxes? Where is he going? What is he doing? What is he making? Or she? So this is all new to me. It's all new to me. So the questions that I'm going to be dropping today, I'm going to be sitting back, receiving them, much like many of you. But of course, there's going to be audience members out there that are pros, veterans, and loving this lifestyle as well. So I know Les will be able to bring some value into that. And of course, we'll spring some fun rapid fire questions on him at the end to throw him off his game. But I think by the end of this, all of us will be itching a little bit more to get off of the beaten path.
Exciting. Yeah. I'm pumped now, man.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, fantastic.
I mean, this is what I do. I have to practice all week. It should be good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid.
It's very good.
Without a cringy face, I'm going to ask, why? Why would I leave this smooth pathway out here where I know how fast I can go.
Mm-hmm.
I know how hard I can stop.
Uh-huh.
I know I might be able to get a toe
Yeah.
down. But why would I choose to leave that to go where it's all wild?
Great question. Yeah. I'm a bit of an off-road missionary, if you will, just converting people every time they come into the shop. I'm saying, hey, dirt's where it's at. Dirt's where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think adventure riding's a lot of things to many different people. So some people it's long treks and like a planned destination trip where they just dip out for 2 weeks and go west or east or whatever to Grand Canyon or whatever destination that may be. For other people, it's short day runs. I like going out east to the mountains and coming back the same day, hitting some fire roads and stuff like that. Adventure riding can also be like a weekend camping, you know what I mean? Or overnight camping, loading up all the gear you need on 2 wheels, which a lot of people take a lot of pride and they enjoy, just like hikers where they want like the perfect kit, low weight, all the tools they need. Exactly. There's some type of enjoyment to be gotten out of that. And then other times, I had a great group in DC and every Sunday guaranteed, whether it was 2 of us or 5 of us or 12 of us sometimes, we would go hit some power lines and then go get a beer and coffee afterwards. And that was like our Sunday routine. So I think adventure riding can be a lot of different things. Like I've seen people put surfboards on the side of their motorcycle. And I think figuring out how to get a surfboard 3 hours towards the coast and then surfing and bringing dry clothes and all this stuff, that's an adventure, right? Yeah, so what is your adventure and how can 2 wheels get you there? I think that's adventure riding.
Yo, that I can see how people easily convert because you put it into a really tangible perspective for individuals here in the Pacific Northwest. When you spoke about hiking, I said, wait, packing my pack for a backpacking trip, a through hike, or even a long hike through like the enchantments is in and of itself a badge of honor.
Yeah.
If I can get all of my shorts and food and socks into this bag and it doesn't break my back and I can make it all 50 miles, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then the same thing in the cycling community. I am wearing my STP shirt. I did it in one day, so I didn't have to bring any bags. But if we're going to be riding somewhere on a bicycle, why not do it on a motorcycle?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a great way to live, man.
Absolutely.
Out in the elements, open.
That's wonderful. The juiciness. That's the juiciness, y'all. But of course, we're going to crack this can all the way open and let the essence out in just a moment. But let's drop it over to the station and get you informed.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
We must all remain committed to slow the spread of coronavirus, taking care of ourselves and not putting others in harm's way, especially those already at high risk of getting seriously ill, including people over 65 or those with underlying medical conditions. If you must be out, avoid crowded areas, stay 6 feet or 2 arm lengths away from others, and wear a face covering. Wash hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds, especially after being in public spaces. Avoid touching your face, cough or sneeze in a tissue, then throw it away. Disinfect frequently touched objects. And if you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. Slowing coronavirus means taking care of ourselves while also protecting others. Even if you're not at high risk, these steps should be taken to help slow the spread of coronavirus. We are all in this together.
1, 2, get down! What's up, big and little homies? This is Masvita Maraire, host of Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio World, your one-stop shop for Seattle sports. We cover preps, we cover college, we cover pro, we cover it all. Huskies, Mariners, Seahawks, Garfield, South, Roosevelt, Metro, King County. This is where you want to listen to for all the sports that's happening in Seattle. Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Hey, this is Paul Pearson. I've hosted the R&B show Star Time since the very beginning of Rainier Avenue Radio, and after years of featuring tracks from the 50s through the 80s, Star Time now plays R&B and hip-hop from the 1990s as well. A whole half-century of soul, funk, hip-hop, and more on Star Time, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Do you have an idea for a community project in your neighborhood? You could be eligible for up to $50,000 in funding through the City of Seattle's Neighborhood Matching Fund. Grants are awarded to grassroots projects that build stronger communities, with an emphasis on projects led by impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color BIPOC communities. To learn more about the Neighborhood Matching Fund or to see if your project meets the criteria, visit seattle.gov/neighborhoods/NMF.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenuradio.world.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We are back. WRW, here with Les Martens, making it happen. And we're talking about adventure lifestyle on two wheels. So you should know how to protect your bike already. You should know how to protect your body already. And we're going into the wildlands and we're going into the weeds. So let's talk a little bit more about it. What is it? We've spoken about why. It's to increase the distance of your adventure. But what does that look like in terms of bike and gear and mindset as we go out to ride?
Sure. I think that if you just want to get acquainted and you've never heard of this thing before, check out The Long Way Round, The Long Way Round, The Long Way Down, The Long Way Up. Ewan McGregor, he goes from Europe to New York, through the Middle East and through Europe and through Russia and through Alaska into Canada, and then drops into the U.S.
I thought I needed a movie tonight, and I got incredible. It. Whoa! And
every episode is like a little dose of culture because it's a different country.
Awesome.
So it's a really cool show. It's old show. Okay. And then they did The Long Way Down, same concept from England to like the southern tip of South or Africa.
Wow.
And then southern tip of South America to California is The Long Way Up.
Oh, man.
So go check that out if you haven't seen it. That is like the upper echelon where they have I think they might have a support vehicle, but that's like the epitome of adventure riding. That and of course the Dakar, where you're timed adventure riding. There's so many different forms. I could go on and on. But yeah, I think adventure riding, it could even be, like my wife, I'm trying to get her into the sport.
There we go.
She's not a thrill seeker.
I hear you.
But she does like the outdoors. She does like hiking. Okay. And I think that if she was moving at a little bit faster pace, there's so much more to see in a day. And so an adventure for her would just be putting along at like 5 or 8 miles an hour, and that's her adventure. So it's whatever you want to make it, but whatever gets the heart pumping a little bit, whatever gets you out of your normal routine, somewhere where there's not a lot of people, adventure riding.
I am, I've spooled my lasso up. I've launched it forward. I've got a hold of the bandwagon. In order for me to jump on board, you got to give me a few pros and cons. Like, and please, is this something that I have to give up my sport bike for?
Not necessarily.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, you got a pretty nice sport bike.
I do.
Yeah, it probably takes up most of the garage.
Thank you, Mom.
Right? Yeah. No, it depends on what your situation is. I think the best setup, it's hard to get, but if you have a cruiser, a sports bike, a off-road bike, everyone wants that. Yeah. But just a few pros and cons here. First off, the adventure community is great.
Okay.
Like one, they're usually like some really down-to-earth people. They're really familiar with their bikes because you kind of have to be when you're doing adventure riding. You're in remote places and you're kind of left up to your own resources to fix problems and get out of there. And they just tend to be, there's I say this dangerously. There's a lot of negative stigma that can come with Ducati or Harley Davidson. I'll let people gather that on their own. But when it comes to adventure riding, there's just not that much of that. There's not so much. It's people are just there to enjoy nature and enjoy the ride and enjoy the connections.
That sounds familiar.
And you'll notice that when you look at their bikes, they all look like messy finger paintings. You know, they're not like, hey, look at me and look at my bike. Like it's like a dirty old lunchbox, you know, a beater. So the community is great. They're fantastic. You can go just about anywhere depending on your skill, right? If you have high enough skill, it can go places that a Jeep can't, you know? So that's another very enticing part. Long treks, you know, like doing travel trips.
Speaking to me.
That's huge because on an adventure bike, they come with a lot of luggage options. And when you're looking at a BMW 1200, heated seats, cruise control, everything. But then you can also get off road, and the computers in those things just make it easy. Not easy. I'm exaggerating. BMW riders would be mad at me for saying easy. So there's a lot of. Let me see here. Checking my notes. Relatively low cost
because he has so much information. He had to condense. And this is why I brought him on.
I appreciate it. Relatively low cost and durable. So I started off with the 883, and I told you that I went wide in a turn, ran it into a field, bent my frame, and it was insurance. It was what's it called? Totaled out. Totaled out. So here I am getting a new bike. If I could go back and do it again, I would have started with the Dual Sport. They're super light. They usually don't have enough power to get you in trouble. It's a lot more fun to just like give everything it's got and just wind it out. Wah, wah, wah. And if you do that on your bike, second gear, you're going 120, right? Like, So,
and if there's any moisture on the ground, it can be.
I'll bang through all 6 gears, 0 to 70, and it doesn't have much to past 70. But man, I feel alive when I'm hitting red line every time. That's the key. You know, so that's really nice. And if you're a new rider, you can drop it time and time again and pick it up. And it's if you have the hand guards and the handlebars and the protection we were talking about, you're literally not going to tell a difference in the plastics and everything. Like you can really wreck them, and then turn around. They hold their value. Even one that's beat up, you can turn around and sell it for minimal loss. So it's a great place to start. They're low maintenance if you get a 4-stroke, and they're usually easy to work on. So it's nice to get intimate with the machine, get familiar with changing your own tires, doing your own chain adjustment, oil changes, or you know, there's fewer plastics. Just very direct. And then the last and my favorite thing, and this kind of goes to whether or not you have to sell your sports bike. One thing I love about the adventure ride, whether it's a Tenere 700 or a WR 250R, like big bikes, little bikes, you can very quickly, maybe not with the Tenere 700, but let's take an old Honda 500, right? And let's take that platform. You could put some 17-inch or 16-inch Supermoto tires front and rear, and now you can go race Supermoto. You could do track, although I wouldn't because the straightaway is going to be so long, you're going to be kind of dying there with a 250. But yeah, you can do the Supermoto thing. You can do moto camping, right? You can do the long treks. You can also go into flat tracking, which is usually an oval track, not always. You're basically drifting a bike, no front brake. And you just do some sprocket changes, a new chain, and some new wheels, and now you're ready for that. You can go into hill climbing. You can go into enduro. You can go, and what's so cool about this is if you get a Dual Sport, you can always go back to the road. You can always go pick up groceries. You can always go hit the canyons. So that's one thing I'm saving up for is a set of Sumo wheels, some Supermoto wheels. So I can take off the front and rear. And go hit the track.
I love that. I love that. And I am all the way on board with this. And I think, so clearly we're going to have a first bike buyer episode coming up. But I think this is a perfect taste test of that. He spoke about a lot of things that are really important when you're buying your first bike. And there's a lot of things that are overlooked when we talk about getting our first bike. It's really just, get your endorsement, get the insurance, and then just get out there and learn. And it's, if you don't prepare somebody about the maintenance costs, if you don't prepare somebody about those small nuanced financial issues or aspects of the motorcycle that could not go wrong, but need attention, especially if you're getting a brand new motorcycle that has that run-in phase, right? So, and not to mention, excuse me, folks, not to mention, if you are riding your bike, even if you're a new rider, if you're riding your new bike a bit harder, you will go through certain fluids more. So, of course, this is more money out of your pocket.
And in tires.
And in tires.
Mostly, yeah,
and
really
yes, rubber can be very costly depending on how supple the rubber you are getting, right? But what I heard is low-cost maintenance, easy to work on, lightweight, durable.
Mm-hmm.
If these aren't four of the most important factors, aside from price, for getting your first motorcycle, I don't know what else would.
And price is there.
Price is there.
Price is there. You can get one used for $2,000 is a decent one. $4,000 you got a fuel injected model, pretty modern. It's pretty nice.
And I challenge anyone at this moment to go on Craigslist, OfferUp, or your local dealership and tell me what sport bike or any other bike. I will always be biased to sport bikes. So just fill in whichever descriptor of motorcycle you want and find one for $4,000 used that will please you, that will be easy to work on, that will be lightweight, and that will be durable.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
It's a challenge.
Right? And the added benefit that your bike is a chameleon superhero.
Yeah.
It can become, all you have to do is change the cape, or excuse me, the tires and the gearing in this case, right?
Yeah.
I do too. And I really appreciate you sharing all those different connective bits. I know here in the Pacific Northwest, speaking about bike packing, backpacking, and hiking, that makes a lot of sense because we live in one of the most amazing natural settings on Earth, therefore in the galaxy, with how many mountains, how many waterways, the access to oceans, caves, ice, everything that we have. If you can go further day in and day out, it's just like if you can hike 10 miles and then set up camp, that's great. If you can mountain bike 50 miles and then set up camp, that's 5 times better. If you can ride a motorcycle and make it, how many miles on average a day?
Darn, I did an 8-hour trip, went out to Yakima and back. How far is that? 400
to
miles?
Yakima back in the day?
I think it's 400 miles. About.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? And us who ride on the road, and Les also rides on the road, we can do that in a day, but we are also dealing with cagers and so many other factors that take away from the ride when we are not out there chasing the apex, enjoying a stream or a bird flying past.
Yep.
Right? When you are off-road, you don't have to worry about those other vehicles. There's still other things to attract your attention, for you to be aware of, because as a rider, you are always in an active alert state. But when you don't have to worry about other brains making decisions around you or being distracted, it allows you to really, really enjoy and be absorbed into that ride.
Yes,
right?
This is huge,
Yeah.
huge. I can't believe I failed to mention that. But that is one of the best things I tell people, new riders, old riders. If you're having fun on the road, if you're getting your heart pumping on the road, you're probably breaking the law.
Yeah.
You're probably making your mom nervous if she was watching, right?
Yes, she would be.
If you do the same thing on the dirt, man, you're just having a good time. You're fully padded, and you got all the gear on, and you can push it. You're landing one on dirt.
Yep.
So dirt moves. If you slide 50 feet on the dirt, or you slide 30 feet on the dirt, or if you slide 30 feet on the street's like sandpaper, man. So for new riders, it allows a lot of people to not be so afraid of the bike, damaging the bike or themselves. So it's a huge leap as far as progress can go in a short amount of time, because they can just really push the limits without any consequences. Fewer consequences. But I love that though, because even in life, even when there are no wheels and engines involved, we can fall. Especially again, if it's wet outside. Many of us, even as adults, have slipped and fell. Okay, and that concrete is always harder than grass. It's always harder than grass. We've all fallen playing kickball or soccer or at practice for some sport or hiking. That didn't feel as bad as going directly down on asphalt. And that's going to be the same
except even more so now because you added in another factor. It's a surface that also moves. And with that movement, you're dissipating more force. Okay, so safer. I find that when speaking to riders, potential riders who have thought long and hard about getting on a motorcycle, but are afraid, it is the action of how fast they can go from 0 to 100. And there also being a loud noise that happens. Yeah. These are all things that strike fear, right? They're factors that can encourage fear.
Make you feel alive.
Make you feel alive, especially when you're alive, when you're done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you can do that, as opposed to a leader bike on the street, what that's going to do when you open the throttle all the way, whereas Les just spoke about feeling fully alive with no other cars around and getting all the way through the gearbox, that to me speaks to building up the experience as one that a new rider will fall in love with, rather than that could spook them and drive them away from a sport that can do so much for us.
And that brings up another point, is that off-road, you said get through the gearbox. Yeah. If I'm on the road, hitting the highway, I can get through the gearbox. But off-road, you're also, like, if you're really pushing it off-road on some trails, 40 miles an hour is too much, man. Like, you're hauling butt at 40 miles an hour. Usually you're putting along 25, 30 miles an hour, and it's more than you can process coming at you. You know? So when you fall at 30 or 40 compared to high siding and being launched 10, 15 feet in the air at 60, 70 miles an hour on a sports bike, it's just much lower danger level. Man. So that's a huge proponent.
Parents. Parents out there.
If your son wants a sports bike, get him a dirt bike as soon as possible.
And get his friends into the sport as well. They will be friends for life, most likely. Now, since we are talking, just throw it in there. Now I'm going to lob one off to the parents. But of course, you're going to be swinging for the fences here. You work in the motorcycle industry. Taking a small pivot here. Yeah. You work in the motorcycle industry. And speaking to youth nowadays, there's so many things that they don't want to do when they grow up in terms of pushing their life in that direction. Do you feel, as someone who loves motorcycles, I feel confident saying that you love motorcycles? Is that true?
100%.
Okay.
Obsessed.
Working,
maybe more appropriate. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. You said it, not me. Yeah. But now I feel comfortable saying that I am most likely obsessed with as many bikes as I have. Do you feel like you are living the dream, working in the motorcycle industry, riding off-road and on-road, having these depths of knowledge in so many different areas? Like, do you feel like you are living the motorcyclist dream?
Life's good.
Life's good.
Life's good. I feel like the dream is something you always chase.
There we go.
Like, once you get there, there's a new dream.
That's the truth.
Right? So I feel like cycle gear is a great stepping stone. It's given me a lot of, I've had a lot of learning. I've gotten to connect with a lot of people in different riding styles other than my own, whether it's the cruiser lifestyle, sport lifestyle, straight dirt. I get to learn a lot from those people. I learned a lot of stuff from the company as far as like changing tires and using tire machines and stuff like that. Valuable. But then the connections are incredible. The people that come and go, and it's just, I really like working there because it's not really a hard sell. So it's not sale heavy. We can have and because of that, like if you go to a dealership, there's always the message of like, I'm selling you a car.
That's true.
So it all feels fake, right? Yeah. Like, it's like, this is just conversation to sell me the car. There, we're just kind of hanging out. There's no pressure to hit these goals or anything like that. So when people come in, if we can help them, great. Otherwise, come by and see us and chill. Cause we like hanging out.
That's authentic.
Yeah.
That's authentic. That's literally why he is here. Yeah.
It's good. It's a good stepping stone. I've learned a lot, made a lot of good connections. But yeah, eventually I want to do something, more design heavy, or possibly, custom motorcycle work or fabrication. We'll see where it goes.
We
definitely looking for work. So.
You heard the intro, and I think Les must have heard it because he's like, well, why don't I just drop a shameless plug on myself and I can get an invite back? So we'll definitely be speaking about bike customization. It's an area that I'm fascinated by because I have a fashion design background. I have an artistic background. So creating something that expresses the one that owns it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know anything about the process of fabricating new parts or cutting new plastics or choosing between this material or that to get the right paint adhesion.
Mhm.
These are things that a lot of our artistic youth, young adults, and even individuals that have already graduated from school but are not enjoying the field that they're using their education in, if they heard this and said, well, I've been around motorcycles my whole life, I didn't know that I could apply this to that. If you would not be so, I'm just going to put it out there on the table. Les, can you come back?
Yeah,
Can
100%.
you speak about that?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd love to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You talking about
Bike customization.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I got my foot in the door at a place called Oxide around the corner. They're you're going all out of order now. You got me all out of whack.
You said something that I wasn't ready for, and
yeah, here we go.
Got to hop on it for the piece.
So yeah, I just don't want to miss anything. Oxide's a great shop that I found around the corner. They do custom motorcycle work,
Awesome.
but they're also a brand, and they're kind of spearheading this community development, this collective and lifestyle that we're trying to create over in Queen Anne at a place called Moto Shed.
Solid.
It's a community space of like-minded people, an industrial art space, if you would. And it brings people together in new ways because they have Two Kick Coffee there that serves incredible nitro brewed coffee. Really, really good. And they also have beer on tap. Pastries are good. So that's a great place that it brings people in. If you're visiting the Ballard Locks, you come to get a coffee or a beer.
Oh, that's perfect.
And then all of a sudden you're connected with these engineers, artists, designers, creatives that all kind of hang out in this space. And more than that, it's a transfer of learning, and it's just fun with like good people. And you really feel that when you walk in the door at Oxide. They're bringing the old and the new together. And we're trying to, look towards the future and develop creative solutions for the motorcycle industry, whatever that may be. And we want to share an understanding of safety, maintenance,
key,
and most of all, what it is to be a good member of the motorcycle community. We all need help in some situation, especially when you're on two wheels. You're a little bit more vulnerable. And so having each other's backs, just like you were mentioning, your buddy pulling over.
Shout out to Jeff.
Yeah. That's it's all part of it. So we want to continue to make that grow, and we want to take our motorcycles around the world and meet and talk to people. But yeah, so we're really excited about that, and we offer vapor honing as well. So marine industry,
vapor honing.
Yeah,
tell me more.
It's a process. It's a very delicate process. It's kind of like sandblasting, but it's adding water into it. So you're kind of sandblasting with a slurry. And the water acts as a insulation, so the sand's not as abrasive. So you can have delicate plastic parts or chrome or brass. A lot of antique boats, have these delicate metals on them. And you can just spray it with this machine, and it comes out perfectly new or nearly new. It's incredible. The results.
These are the parts that expose to the salt water.
Yeah, so a lot of corrosion there, right? And motorcycle parts, it's great for whether it's carbs or plastics or anything like that. Yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, they're a great space. Queen Anne, go check them out. Two Kick Coffee. Ask for Walt Brown. He'd love to talk to you.
That's amazing. See, we love shameless plugs like that, and you again hit so many points that speak to wrenchers, racers, and riders. Culture, engineering, community, blending the old with the new. I always have been a history buff. It really gives me a lot of confidence to know what has happened in the past, because then I'm aware of similar situations that may occur in the future, so I can have the best outcome out of that. 100%. Right? And there is so much that we do on motorcycles today that has its roots in what was done yesterday. And if we have individuals in a space that is inviting and accepting and willing, this is the key, willing to share that knowledge in a way that will benefit the person that's receiving it, right? So it can be someone who is in the adventure scene that's hearing from someone that had a flat track background, and we hear how there's crossover there. And if you have that engagement, of course, there's going to be the imparting of wisdom. But when you are able to make that connective tissue between two individuals, you make that space stronger.
Yeah.
And when we make spaces like that stronger, motorcycling grows, the motorcycle community gets stronger. And if you're out there on the road and you're throwing that too, know that that means more than just a hand signal, because when you are in need and two wheels are going by, 9 times out of 10, they're going to stop. I'd say 9.9 times out of 10, they're going to stop, because it's just what we do. It's just what we do. So I appreciate you putting it into perspective that a dream is something that you're always going to be, going after. Is there a dream ride that you're going to be going after in either at the end of this year or 2024, something that you're planning for? Maybe it's the first ride that you'll get your wife out there on. It may not be a dream ride for you, but as a couple, it could be a dream ride.
Yeah. No, I got a buddy at work. We're trying to just hit some local areas.
Okay.
I like to go. We've been to Bainbridge a few times. We take a ferry out there.
Okay.
I like to put the sun at one side and just say, I'm going east.
Yeah.
And then put it on the other opposite side and I'm going back home. 4 hours out, 4 hours back. I like that. Nothing real big planned this year. The bike's up on a stand. I got a weird steering head wobble I got to figure out.
I got you on that one.
And so that's kind of put a delay. But sometime in the future, dream trip, northern tip of New Zealand to southern tip of New Zealand.
Okay, picturesque.
Probably a 2-week trip. Yeah, that would be incredible. And then probably going through, all of India, Singapore, Thailand, Burma.
Oh, man, incredible. That's definitely speaking to me. Talk about your ability to ride in wet weather. Yeah. That's definitely going to be on there. Yeah. I got 5 rapid fire questions for you. All right. Let's see if you can knock them out. First up, you already answered it. You said Thailand and New Zealand. Yeah. Second, were you riding in COVID?
Yeah, a lot. I had a Duke 390.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was in Alabama at school, and I took that thing everywhere between classes just because we were at home and nothing to do. You can't go meet up with people, so a lot of solo riding.
Wrap it out. My face mask is my helmet. Yeah. And most important piece of gear that you never leave home without.
Helmet. Of course, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, why would you ask?
Earplugs second or gloves second, but earplugs change the whole ride for you. Yeah, that's good.
Aside from ADV, another riding style.
Supermoto.
Oh, he is setting a nice standard for those who follow, y'all. If they can get through all 5, maybe they'll get an invite back. But we know Les has set the standard. You will be back, my friend. You have so much information, so much good energy. I'm grateful for you.
Likewise, man. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Till next time. Yeah.